Justin, for the first time in over a quarter of a century, the FDA has approved a new type of painkiller called Journavx. They called it the non-addictive alternative to opioids. What separates this drug from others like hydrocodone and codeine and OxyContin is that this new drug is completely opioid-free. The significance of an opioid-free painkiller is rooted in the long, painful history of addiction, dependency, and overdose caused by opioids. In this segment of tonight's news, we will talk about the history of opioids and why Journavx is considered to be the revolutionary drug. We will also go into some concerns that I have based on what we learned from the opioid epidemic of the late 90s. This epidemic is also known as the OxyContin drug epidemic, which was a major public health crisis in the United States, marking the early stages of the opioid epidemic. OxyContin, a powerful prescription painkiller developed by Purdue Pharma, was heavily marketed as a safe and low-risk opioid despite its high potential for addiction. The drug contained oxycodone, an opioid similar to heroin, but was designed for extended release to manage chronic pain. Aggressive marketing and overprescription by doctors, often influenced by misleading claims from Purdue, led to widespread misuse of the drug. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, addiction rates soared, fueling a crisis that later evolved into the broader opioid epidemic, with many users turning to heroin and fentanyl after developing dependencies on prescription opioids. The crisis led to a wave of overdoses, criminal activity, and long-term health consequences, eventually prompting lawsuits and scrutiny for Purdue Pharma and the pharmaceutical industry's role in fueling opioid addiction. What we can learn from this particular epidemic is that drugs need to be tested over longer periods of time for risks and side effects. Journavx has not been studied beyond 14 days. Let's talk about how Journavx works. So, when we are injured or undergo surgery, brain signals are sent to our brain from the wounded area. An opioid's work is done in the brain, which is why it's so addictive. The medication meets the pain signal in the brain and reduces it, essentially easing our pain. Journavx targets the nerve channel that the pain signals travel through and significantly reduces the pain signals before they even reach the brain. This medication works outside of the brain, making it less addictive and less likely for users to become dependent on it. This is why the manufacturer's selling point is that this drug is safer than any drug like it. My take on that is that while we may have solved or we may be preventing one issue, we don't know the long-term effects of the medication since it has not been studied beyond 14 days after treatment. We don't know its effects after that point. And this is where I think we made the mistake in the past and where we continue making errors in terms of development of new medications. What do you think? You heard it here first at Science Now with Niche Whitfield. I'll catch you later.